We hope everyone's having a fantastic day. This is that time of year that nobody is thrilled about. It's tax season and all the paperwork and filings that go along with that. And today I just want to touch base in regards to Illinois state use tax and its importance both this time of year and with business decisions that you make throughout the year. First, I want to make sure that I give a massive disclaimer, and that is I am not a tax professional, so I'm not giving you tax advice. What we are doing is encouraging you to talk to your tax professional, talk to the person that prepares your tax return about use tax to make sure that you're appropriately accounting for it. Now, if you're not aware what use tax is when you purchase something where the sales tax is not collected up front. And a lot of times that happens when you're purchasing something from a vendor that's outside of the state, or from a vendor, if you will, an online entity that is selling a product where they don't collect sales tax. Whoever it might be, it doesn't matter. If you purchase something for use that doesn't meet some sort of a disqualification or a removal or an exception, then it is typically required that you pay use tax on it if they did not collect sales tax up front, or didn't collect the use tax up front. Where does this come into play? Well, really, if you're buying something for your office, and this is where it's important, if you're buying a large piece of equipment for your office, whatever it might be, diagnostic or a table or who knows what, or even down to common everyday supplies, if the vendor that you're purchasing that from doesn't collect sales tax from you, then you very well are probably responsible for paying that use tax, and that goes typically on your Illinois state return, unless you're paying it throughout the year when you're sending in your sales tax dollars when you collect them from your patients on the appropriate portions. So now one of the questions we get is, wait a minute, Mark, these are medical appliances. Aren't they exempt, or don't they qualify for a lesser amount than the typical 6.25? Now I want to just read to you exactly what that exception looks like and how that plays out. Basically what the Department of Revenue says for Illinois is other medical tools, devices, and equipment such as x-ray machines, laboratory equipment, and surgical instruments that may be used in the treatment of patients, but they do not directly substitute for a malfunctioning part of the human body, do not qualify as medical appliances. Therefore, the standard use tax amount would apply. And so if you're buying something for your office, that's used in the treatment of the patient, that's not used, if you will, as a substitute for a malfunctioning part of the human body, then that is taxed at that 6.25 rate. Now, this is really, really important. Talk to your sales tax professional that handles all of this for you. Make sure it's being accounted for appropriately. But here's where it's really important throughout the rest of the year, is when you're making that decision. Sometimes, it could just be a few dollars difference in a price, and you go, I'm going to go with a less expensive vendor instead of buying it more locally. Now, this isn't a kind of political statement in regards to purchasing locally. Instead, what it more is just an understanding from a business perspective what that entails. So if you're buying from a vendor outside of the state, you still have an obligation, a responsibility to pay that use tax, whether it's to the local vendor as a sales tax or to the state of Illinois as use tax at this time of year when you're preparing a return. So if you're making a large purchase, obviously if you're making a purchase in that $10,000 to $20,000 range for your practice, whether it's a table or some sort of diagnostic imaging or something like that, it does begin to matter. Those few dollars, they add up pretty quickly when you're talking about that kind of money. And so sometimes you weigh on the less expensive option that's not collecting the sales tax, or where that's not included. But it's important to know that most likely you're going to have to pay that use tax. And if you purchase it out of state and bring it in, then that could bring some additional challenges. So I just want to make sure from a business perspective that you're looking at things on a one-to-one basis when you're making those purchases for your office. Talk to your sales tax talk to your income tax professional that prepares your returns, or your sales tax professional as well, to make sure that you're dotting all your I's and crossing your T's, and you're making the best decisions for you and your practice and for the business of your practice. We'll catch you next week. Take care.